Nothing like taking her home anywhere you want to be, including my shop. This is our latest and greatest and last bus conversion that we will be doing here with this team as Chrome Yellow, and it belongs to a good friend of mine named Alyssa. And you might know her as Regretless. This is a 2003 Ford E450 with a Bluebird body featuring a Power Stroke 7.3 liter turbo diesel engine. Why is that special? You know, who cares, right? Well, I'll tell you why you should care. This is the last year that Ford and International teamed up to make this motor. And it represents a pinnacle for engineering without the burden of very restrictive emissions controls. And I love clean air, so don't mistake my words here. The problem is those emissions controls make these vehicles very hard to maintain when it's just you that has to maintain them and they leave a fleet. So Alyssa picked this up because she's very savvy. It only has 66,000 miles on it now. It had even less when she bought it. And it truly does run and drive better than any of these that I've ever experienced. The Power Stroke is about as good of an engine as you can get in a bus like this. It's not my favorite engine ever, but it's as good as it gets for a bus like this, for a short bus on a van cutaway chassis. And while you know it does have its flaws, I would say if you were in the market for a short bus to convert, it's really hard to go wrong with the 7.3 Power Stroke. In 2004, Ford came out with the 6.0 Power Stroke, which is really, really problematic. It's got a lot of issues. It has problems with the head studs and the EGR cooler and a whole lot of other acronym things that are just going to bore you if I get into. But there's something to be avoided, and that's why these go for a lot of money, because the people who know that this is what you want. And 2003 was the last year you could get them. Alyssa snatched this one up with the lowest miles I've ever seen on one, and by the way it drives, it's evident that those are actual miles. Well, I could go on and on about the specifics of this drivetrain, but I'm not gonna. We're gonna get started on the fun part of this conversion. So we started at the front, you know. We deleted the flashers up top, threw in a very aggressive light bar, which is quite handy. Up top, you'll see the front-mounted rear view camera. Backup camera? I don't know what you'd call that. It's a front camera. Looks funny, but it's actually, Alyssa's told me, been pretty useful in her tight maneuvering and nighttime surveillance operations. Coming around to the side here, we've got some aftermarket dirt that we applied to give it that kind of lived-in feel. So we like to make our conversions, you know, look like they're from the road, you know, applied by artisans. Down here, you can't really see much, but she's got a 46-gallon gray tank with a freshly installed heater pad, which we determined was important. And then this is the tank drain valve that I'm not going to pull because there is water in there. Coming farther back, we've got the diesel heater. Yeah. Oh yeah. Jeez, forgot. Right here is the side-mounted rear view camera, side view rear view camera. And then we've got the exhaust for the diesel heater, which is important. We keep going around here. We've got a Toyota forklift and the exhaust for the tankless Suburban on-demand water heater, which has been performing quite impressively. Super happy with that. Coming farther back, we've got her freshwater fill location, which is this guy here, Schwab. And then that's the vent for her freshwater tank. And the last bit of kit on the back here is her shore power hookup, which is something she almost never uses because this thing has an excellent off-grid energy system. Coming around to the back, and I'll show you what we did back here. So take a peek up there. Boom, we got a Pioneer 12,000 BTU, 120 volt mini split. Again, we did apply some dirt to it to give it that, you know, lived in feel, kind of keep the flashiness down a little bit. Next to it, we've got one of our outdoor porch lights, which is super handy for when Alyssa needs to get back in here and it's nighttime. Up at the top, you can see the WeBoost antenna, WeBoost, U-Boost. And then next to it, we have the solar combiner box where the panels come together. Taking it in on a lower notch, we blocked all of the back windows for a number of reasons: security, better insulation, and because you know, there's no reason to have a window into the garage. Taking a look in here, we've got the garage and utilities storage area. So we've got a nice little light here. Just to the left of the door is a 120 volt outlet, and there's another one up front, which I'll show you. And then in here we've got a power strip, which is great for charging things like your Milwaukee lithium ion battery packs, or whatever else you might need, really. And if you take a look, you can see she actually has a pretty decent amount of storage still in here. On the left, we've got the 100-gallon water tank, and I'll show you on the inside, but all of the electrical gear sits on a cabinet that we built on top of that. So honestly, really a good bit of storage back here. This whole zone closes and latches, and then we've got a lock, so it's totally secure. A lot of people have been wondering, like, Alyssa, how are you going to get out of the back door if there's a fire or something? And she's not, because this back door does not go into a living space. Her points of emergency egress, she's got the front door on the right, the driver's door on the left, and then this bedroom window is totally big enough for even a large person like me to crawl out of. So she's got those 3 points of egress, which in my opinion is pretty sufficient because it's a tiny bus. Under there, we've got a smoke detector, so if anything does go haywire in the electrical system, she'll have ample opportunity to get out. And that, combined with a carbon monoxide detector, mean that, you know, you can rest easy knowing that Alyssa's going to be safe in this bus, and if she's not safe, she can get out of it quick. So come on around.
I got a spare tire.
Oh God! Before we go, I would be remiss to not point out the spare tire. This bus didn't come with a spare tire, which is kind of funny but not uncommon. And we wanted to put it underneath, but they're just, with the cross members and the structural things happening there, that wasn't going to be possible. So Ty, our fabricator, welded up this nice mount, and we put more dirt on that, and I think it really makes it look rugged. Don't you?
Good rugged look.
Good rugged look. GRL. Coming around this side, it's not quite as exciting because most of the hookups are on that side, which is kind of the convention in the RV zone. Even though Alyssa's mostly boondocking, we still try to keep all the hookups on that side because dump stations and those things, that's where they want them. But down here, we have a propane access door. This is from Skoolie.com, which I can't recommend their products enough, honestly. They have lots of solutions. Look at how filthy that was. That tank was new 2 months ago. But this is her propane tank.
I live rugged.
Yeah, she's rugged. This holds 12.9 gallons?
Yes.
Which is the equivalent of about 3 barbecue tanks, I think. Mm-hmm. And we guess that this is going to last her, I think around 9 months, maybe a year. So that's awesome. That's really great. It's not that big, and it's just right there. I don't have the keys to it, but this is an outdoor shower. You open it, you pull it out, and you take a shower. It's pretty cool. We've got it's really for Rio. We've got another rear view camera here for the blind spot on the side, and then a couple of really sweet features that we have here. So another one of those exterior outlets, which is handy. And then Alyssa's got this, it's a doorbell, but it's also a camera, and it gives her the ability to monitor what's happening outside of her bus 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from anywhere in the world. because this is constantly uploading images to the cloud and sending her notifications in real time, which is really cool. I've seen it in action. When we first installed this at the shop, every time someone would walk in front of it, she would get an alert on her phone that said human activity, and then it would show a picture of me or Ty or Ben walking in front of the bus. Wrapping up the exterior portion, we've got another porch light out here, and then this is a residential style door. It's a steel door though, actually, it's not wood, with a foam core, so it is insulated. And then it features a dual pane glass window here that also has a built-in shade. Where is that guy? Right here. So you can do that, and then you can also tilt it, so you can look through or go back up. And then we went ahead and installed a keyless or keyed lock here, so that all Alyssa really needs is either her fingerprint or a code to get into the bus. We totally had to rebuild the opening. Oh, hey Rio, come on out. We totally rebuilt the opening for her to use this door. We had to make it a little bigger, then a little smaller. And I installed a stainless steel threshold and a jamb that features an automotive grade, really tight sealing rubber bead around it. So that door is nice and tight. Really, I don't think there's any drafts in the bus, are there? Yeah. And then Alyssa did this awesome cedar paneling in the step well, and also continued her flooring down here. And then Ty made these custom bent pieces of aluminum trim to go around it. So I'm really, really happy with the way the door turned out. I think it's one of the better entryways we've done. But before we go inside, I would be totally remiss if I didn't talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the roof raise that this bus has. We didn't do the roof raise here. The original plan when Alyssa came was to not do a roof raise, but we got to talking about how much headroom was in the bus and how much insulation we wanted to have, and we realized that a roof raise was going to be the only way that we could build a bus that had the interior dimensions that she wanted and the performance that she needed. So Alyssa reached out to Wes Lewis, Transcend Existence. If you don't know about him, check him out. He's on YouTube. And he has a shop in Wichita now called Dark Wolf Artisans. I don't know if they have a website yet, but you can check out their work there. She called him up and he was able to squeeze her in, and they got this roof raise knocked out in a week, like a week from the time she left our shop to the time she came back. And she got an 8-inch roof raise with the slope transition, and that really enabled us to do a lot of what we did in the interior with regard to the amount of insulation we did, and also the layout with the raised bed and the nice upper cabinets. So that was a really crucial transformation that we didn't do, but Wes does great work, and honestly, probably one of the only shops that we would, trust to do it right and be happy to work with, aside from Skoolie.com. Good to be home, So, we're just gonna get started on the inside of this bus, the way you would first experience it, and I'll go through all of the wonderful quirks and features that we built into this thing with Alyssa. Right in the front is something really cool and super useful. This is just a little cubby cabinet, for lack of a better word. It exists in this zone. Some people were concerned that there might be an airbag here, but there isn't. There never was an airbag, so we're good. What we did though is we went ahead and we actually added an AC outlet, and Alyssa's using that right now for this super cute little record player, which is nice. And actually we hid a lot of wiring and harnesses for the backup camera system underneath this panel, because these panels are actually removable. In here is a whole bunch of awesome storage, making use of what is really typically pretty hard space to take advantage of. So that's there with a crazy door. Right here we have the dimmer and controls for the first set of lights. It's going to make the lights dim. It's also going to make them flicker on the camera, but they don't flicker in real life. And this is also the switch for the exterior lighting. And there's a light on the side here, and there's a light on the back. Super bright, but really, really pretty handy. As we keep going in, we've got this more amazing storage. We love storage around here. So this lifts up, and I mean, this cubby, it actually extends all the way this way and all the way to about here on this side, top and bottom, which is really cool. Another fantastic feature built into this is this thing hanging right here, which is actually a pull down screen for a projector, and I just happen to have a projector right here. And one thing that's really cool about this setup, aside from the fact that it takes up almost no space, we'll see if this projector is charged enough. This little projector, it self-adjusts and auto-focuses. So you basically just point it at it and boom, you're good to go. It'll see it's focusing right there. And then all you need to do is be connected to the internet, and it's just like watching TV, you know?
So cool.
The battery's very low, but you can get the gist of what's happening here. And this happens to be the perfect distance for projecting onto it. So that's really cool. As you can see the background is loading all of the apps and stuff. So super fun, and it's portable. It's got a really good sound system built into it, and we can go from movie mode to back, ready to drive really quickly. All we got to do is unhook this, and boom, we're back on it. Pretty exciting. Really happy with how that turned out. If you want to come in here a little closer, I'll show you what else we've got going on. On the front here we have, the list has actually got 4 cameras. Only 3 are visible because the 4th one is a front-facing camera. It just came with the kit, so we put it there. I don't know how useful it is. Have you used it?
I actually have.
She's used it.
Parked,
okay.
And I'm like in for the night, and I'm on public land or whatever. It's a great way I can see my front, my back, my side, my side.
So you can spy.
Yeah.
So what's really cool, so this monitor there's actually a remote control too. It gives you a split screen. So this, you can't really tell too clearly probably, but this top one, that's her spare tire. So this is the back camera. This is the blind spot on the driver's side, and this is the blind spot on the passenger side. And these are awesome. And they also have night vision, which is really cool. So it could be totally dark out there, and you can see, I mean, it's black and white, but you can see totally fine, which is really handy. Awesome. Visibility is awesome. We put the old bus rear view back up because that's a great way to keep tabs on what's going on back here and that one. Coming across, we've got, this is a map light for reading maps when it's dark, and it's on a dimmer. It's got a, am I doing that right? It's got a touch switch. Oh, there we go. That dims, and it also can do night light function where just the button is illuminated, which is really cool. And then here is the switch for the night blaster, which is a really intense light bar. And we made jokes about it, but it's actually come in handy on more than one occasion. So maybe go figure. There's a reason for him. This is right here. This is like a little, and like, so all this area typically in a short bus build is usually lost unless you do the full demo. And by full demo, I mean like getting rid of the front caps, and there's always like a weird thing here. So you get rid of all of that, and that gives you the ability to unlock all of this extra storage. So in here, we've actually got a little kind of tech zone. You can see there's a Wii Boost, the indoor module there. And we actually even stuck a, right here, if it focuses, there we go. That is just a separate USB port that's powered off the house batteries for charging Alyssa's Wi-Fi router and anything else that needs to be charged and be out of the way. So what's cool is, you know, you close this, it's gone. It just also happens to be the perfect size for holding vinyl records. How cool is that? Great little cubby, and then there's just an open box up here, which is nice. Moving into the house, this is where the transition starts on our sloped cedar ceiling, because Alyssa has a roof raise on this bus. It's really hard to see on camera because of all the patterns and how tight and nice everything turned out, which still impresses me. But it's really sweet. So we've got some built-in shelves here that are built in. They're tied into the structure of the bus, actually. And a couple of outlets. This is for Alyssa's doorbell, because the bus has a doorbell. And there's, yeah, doorbell camera.
24/7 monitoring.
24/7 monitoring doorbell camera. Security, okay?
Security.
It's actually really cool. Another one of those things where like, but it's actually cool. Here we've got more dimmer switches. We try to put all of our lights on dimmers because it's really nice. So if you look here, these control the lighting for under and then above the shelf. And at night, really, this is like all the light you need. Again, it's probably flickering in the camera, but it doesn't in real life. So that's really nice. And then moving into this zone, this is a really cool couch that, you know, was the product of some serious head scratching between me and Alyssa and Rachel, the carpenter here. And it's got some sweet functionality that I'm going to try to show you. First of all, is this awesome table setup. So it swivels out. It can do pretty much any, you know, you can do this. You can go up, you can go down, you can go back like that. So you can do all of that stuff with the table. I'm gonna take the table out because it's gonna be easier for me to show off the rest of what happens here. So bear with me. You can also take it out though. So now we've got the table out of the way. Here's some more cool features that it has. So these drawers here actually slide all the way out, as you can see. And this one does the same. And then, if you want, so what this does is, imagine that table is still here. Now you can seat 3, maybe 4 people around what was once a very small table for 2. And then if we take this base off and put it there, we can do something really clever. And we'll pop this back out and set it across here and put this cushion here and this cushion there, and now it's a bed big enough for 2 people who really love each other or 1 person who is normal sized. But so we figured out a way to combine a bunch of storage underneath with a couch that can sleep 1 to 2. It can seat 4, and it can seat 4 in a dinette, booth, U-shaped, warm and fuzzy arrangement. So this is a full-size bed, really close to it. I mean, it's a little narrow, but I think it's longer though than a full-size bed.
Yeah.
So tall, skinny people love this. Big hit. Oh, in the back, as I go to put this away, so the back is actually held in place by magnets. So you got magnets here that hold this, the back of this on.
Also bonus storage.
Also, yeah, so there's more storage here in these funky little backrest zones, which is really cool. Oops, there we go. And then that goes there. That pops up, and these boxes here, oh, I've got the cushions flipped. Is that right?
No.
No, is that right?
No.
Oh, it goes like this. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
You go. You got it.
I got it. And so these boxes, the slides are heavy-duty slides that latch it in the out position. So it'll stay out, which is cool. And then inside there's, there you go. More storage. And then the last place where there's a lot of storage is right here. So you can see back here, we've got the diesel heater. And I did a whole video with Alyssa on how to install that. And there's also the gas shutoff, which you can't even really see, but there's a propane shutoff for the water heater. And we put those on all of the propane appliances so that if you have an issue with the water heater or you have an issue with the stove, you can isolate that appliance and still use the rest of your propane system, which is nice. Oh, there's an outlet, yeah, for plugging in your laptop.
I use that every day.
So that's the couch. Do you remember who made this table base?
I don't.
Because everyone does the.
Oh crap.
Who's that company? Well, there's an expensive aluminum one
That you bought.
that I bought, used actually though, for my camper. And then there's this steel one, which to be honest, I think the steel one is a little more suited for this because Alyssa's table is pretty big. It's a nice little glue up we did of some walnut. Rachel did it actually, of some extra walnut she had laying around from a project. But I like this because it just feels good, you know.
Does it feel good?
It just feels good, dang it. Gosh dang it. Cool. Next, I would like to show you some of the refrigeration and cooking amenities that this bus features. So one of the things we were really puzzled about when we were working on the floor plan for this was how we were going to get Alyssa a full-size fridge and freezer and have this general layout shape. We didn't want to have any tall fridge freezer units. And the side-by-sides they make, which we really wanted to incorporate into this, were too wide because we wanted Alyssa to have a really nice, wide and deep kitchen sink, which if you're only going to have one sink, you want it to be a really good one. And she didn't have, in her last bus, a stove with an oven. And the nice thing about this unit is it has an oven, but the bummer is the oven takes up space below it. So we don't have the ability to come into it with a wide fridge. So our solution to that was to do like a split setup where basically we got a full size for what Alyssa's needs are, standalone below the counter fridge without a freezer. And then Alyssa picked up an awesome Iceco cooler style fridge. And what we did is we built a special cabinet for it that uses the slide that comes with the fridge and built that into her under the bed systems area. So you just lift up on this latch here, and it's got two latches. It'll latch halfway open, which I don't really know why, but it does that. Or it'll latch all the way open. And what's really cool about this fridge is it actually has two different compartments. So if you need the extra storage space, you can have them both on. And if you don't need the extra storage space, you can actually turn one side of it off, which is really nice. And because Alyssa makes fresh dog food from scratch for Rio, that gives her the ability to freeze batches of that and keep it separate from her other stuff. Or if she doesn't need the extra capacity, she can just shut that off. And it's DC, and because it's a cooler style, it's really efficient, which is nice. And so that just slides back and latches into place and, you know, blends right in. You would never know. And then right above that we had extra space, so we put in this really huge, I mean it's huge, this really, really deep drawer. It keeps going. Just a big old drawer. Pantry. Which is nice. So the other fridge, the fridge, not the fridge freezer but the fridge is it's actually a commercial unit, which is nice because it's really heavy duty. It vents out the front of the unit, which is cool. If you're gonna build a fridge into a cabinet and it wasn't designed for that, a lot of times the efficiency plummets because it's trying to exhaust the heat from the fridge into a cabinet that's sealed. So it's basically stewing in its own heat, and it has to cycle a lot longer than you would like it to, and that's when it uses energy. So the fridge turned out great. And then right above the fridge, we've got this cutting board with a removable piece of phenolic resin. Phenolic resin is a material made from recycled paper, which is cool, but it's a great cutting board surface. Coming down, we've got propane range with cool blue lights. The nice thing about this is that when it's closed like this, you get your counter space back, or if you want to use it, you just flip it back like that, and voila, it's a stove. The only beef I have with this is that the glass rattles like when you're going down the road sometimes, and it's like, hello, you made this for an RV. Why does it do that?
Hello.
Nobody knows why. And then we've got the oven with a little light in there. Below that, we have a couple more drawers of storage, which is really nice. And then rounding out the kitchen side of things on the lower end is the sink with a water pump that's off. A sink with a really deep basin, which is nice.
Sorry. Get my faucet on a little bit.
It's all good.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, with the sink, the sink has a really deep basin, which is nice, so it doesn't splash as much. A lot of folks go with the shallow sink, but like the splashes, they splash, and that's a bummer. Underneath the cabinet, we did some more of our dimmable rope lighting. Underneath the cabinet, we did some more of our dimmable rope lighting, which we're really into around here because it's basically invisible. And we had some extra length left over, so Alyssa drilled a hole and put it up here because isn't that nice? That's why. Built-in microwave up top, which is a great way to heat food. It uses very little energy. And then some more storage in these uppers up here. So kitchen in this bus is really awesome. For how small it is, it really has been super functional for Alyssa. Okay.
Big delay there. Give a flip.
So I have to talk about the ceiling of this bus because it's really cool. We did, the cedar that everyone's doing, but we decided to go across the width of the bus and use the thinness of the cedar to our advantage, so it would take the curve, which is really cool. The thing that made that challenging is because this roof raise has a transition. So from here to here, we lose, how high did you go? 12? 8?
Inches. Yeah.
So from here to here, we lose 8 inches. And you can almost tell, but we have, Ben had a stockpile of some really beautiful straight grain cedar, and we milled a little piece to cover the gap here, which you probably can't even see. And then we ran it down, and then right here, Ben was able to get a nice curved cut on these two pieces, which I'm sure you can't see in the video either, to take that curve out. But really, the cool thing about this ceiling, it's lightweight, it was affordable, it was quick to install. You just have to, kind of understand what the wood is going to want to do and how it's going to resist being bent, and just be careful. But it's totally something anybody can pull off, especially if you do enough strapping that you can get enough fasteners in there. The strapping is the framing that we run in the bus. So it turned out really great. I'm super happy with it. And bugs hate cedar. It's moisture resistant. That's awesome. And I have to talk about the Max Air fan, which, boy, do they have a market on the fans. Because I lived with a Fantastic Vent, and that thing sucked. I mean, it was fine, but it kind of sucked because it was the one with the rain sensor, And if it rained and the sensor didn't detect it, you got wet. Or if the sensor got wet, but the rain was long gone, it would not let it operate, and that was obnoxious. So I went to a Max Air, and my Max Air worked for about 2 years, and then it just went haywire on me one day. And that sucked because it was about $350. And, but boy, when it works, is it good. Alyssa had the same friggin' experience, but it only took hers 3 months, 2.5 months to crap out. Something goes on in the logic board, we don't know, but it quits, it starts coming on randomly, it starts beeping, which is a bummer because they literally are the best and they're still not that great. But they're so much better than a Max Air or than a Fantastic Vent, and infinitely better than having nothing. I mean, Alyssa's last build didn't even have a vent, which in my humble opinion is inexcusable. But you know, we weren't the shop that built it, so. But these, like, I mean, it's like having air conditioning in the spring and fall. Like, she's probably not going to need the mini split if she's got this going. So whatever you're doing, Max Air, just fix that thing. You know, whatever causes it to do that thing, fix it, please. Because this top of the line model is about $350. So, but it is cool because it's got a thermostat, so it maintains the temperature automatically. You can leave it on in the rain. It's reversible, so it can suck in or blow out. And you can also close the lid, but leave the fan on, and it works as like a ceiling fan, which is cool. I guess I've never used that feature, but it seems cool. Yeah. So this guy running on high is pulling, I believe it's 1,200 cubic feet a minute of air. Alyssa's bus, the footprint here, what are we at, like 150 square feet?
Oh, we're just over 100.
Oh, 100 square feet times, we'll say the ceilings are an average of 7 feet tall. So say we have 700 cubic feet of air in here. It's probably much less because there's furniture and objects. So that means that every minute this is changing out, doing a complete change out of the air in the bus, which is pretty amazing. So if you have this thing exhausting and the only window open is the one by the bed, you feel a heck of a breeze coming across the bed, which is, if you can imagine, you know, on a hot summer day, getting into bed, feeling the cool breeze. I mean, that's nice, you know? It's great. Almost perfect. So follow me and we'll come into what might be one of my favorite parts of the bus, which is this awesome wet bath. We've done wet baths before, but I think this one turned out maybe the best of all of them. We've got a custom stainless shower pan that has a raised section for the Nature's Head composting toilet, which is nice because it helps keep water from pooling around that. And then Alyssa picked out some really cool tile for the walls, and she turned us onto this new product. Well, it's not a new product, but onto using epoxy grout. It just happened to be the only grout that was in the color we wanted, but it is a really amazing product. It's so much stronger and more adhesive than conventional sanded grout, and it's also more flexible, and it's totally waterproof. So with conventional grout, you often have to seal it after you install it. With this product, you just put it on, and you actually have a longer working time, which is cool. If you've ever done regular tile, you know you're wiping that tile down as fast as you put that grout on, and you might only have 15, 30 minutes tops. With this grout, I think it was 2 hours of working time, which is really nice. And we were able to get kind of fancy and do the tile around the window here, and there's a really lovely piece of custom stained glass in here that we were able to tile around. And yeah, it's a very awesome shower. I'm 6'1", and it's totally spacious for me. And it's hard to convey the depth here available to it, but it's over 5 feet from here to the back wall there. So, you know, it looks like this stuff will just get soaked when the shower's on, but it really doesn't. Like, you really would have to try to get that wet, which is really nice. It also doesn't really matter if the Nature's Head toilet gets wet. So, you know, there's that. We've got the urine diverter hooked up to the Nature's Head, and we're using a Hepvo waterless trap there. And there's been some discussion I've been a part of on the internet about how long those seem to last. We've installed a lot of them and have not had any reports of issues, but there are folks out there that say that over time, with repeated exposure to urine, they break down and stop working. So maybe they need to drink more water, or maybe it is an issue and people just aren't catching it. So Alyssa's gonna keep an eye on it for us. And
There it is. I always get to clean it with my...
yeah, what's really handy is there's a bidet. There's a bidet right here. So it actually is really handy though, because you can just rinse the bowl out after every use. $25 a year. If you only get a year out of it, not a big deal. So back here we have Alyssa's wardrobe, which we've got a gasket around it. But again, because it's an overlay door, it's super hard to get water in there. I mean, I don't think anything's gotten wet in the 2 months that she's been living in here. So that's great. And then behind these clothes, you can't see, is the DC fuse block for all of her DC 12 volt stuff and the AC breaker panel, just like you would have in your house for the AC stuff. She doesn't really ever need to get to it, so kind of buried it. Made these cute little doors, butterfly handles. But it's an awesome wet bath. I seriously think it's probably one of my favorite bathrooms that we've done because it's so functional. And I mean, just look at it, you know? It's cute. It's really pretty. I almost forgot. There's this one mod I love doing to Nature's Heads. And that is, if you'll notice, we've got this really cute vintage knob here. Nature's Heads don't come with any knob. So to open it, you got to stick your fingernails under and like lift up the lid. And that's just uncomfortable and gross to me. So Alyssa had an extra knob, and this is something I did on my bus too, and I just stuck it right on the end. So there it is. Love that mod. And by the way, these are great. They're expensive, but I mean, they're awesome. I lived with my last one for over 5 years, and I still have it. It's going in my camper, and you know, you do you with your poo, but I'm super happy with them. It's money well spent, in my opinion, to get you out of, you know, doing something that doesn't have a built-in agitator or a built-in vent fan or a built-in urine diverter. So, and the cool thing about that is because it's not made out of wood like some other composting toilets available, it can go in a wet bath, and it's totally fine to be submerged, which also means that because it's plastic, you can totally clean it. You can clean it in a sanitary way. However, with composting toilets, you don't want to use bleach because it kills the enzymes that break down your poop. But, you know, if something got gnarly and you needed to kind of start fresh, that's something you can do. So I'm not paid by Nature's Head. I just like them. So this is always kind of my favorite part of the build. It's where all of the systems are in this bus. It's something that we specialize in around here, and I'm very proud of how well these have a tendency to work for people. And since we're, you know, taking a tour of this bus after Alyssa's been in it for a couple of months, I can tell you exactly how well it's been doing for her, and the answer is very well. So we'll just start at the top and work our way down. So we're sitting here on this bed platform. The platform, the way that we generally make them, is with steel 1x2s going across, and so it's a totally clear span below, which is nice. It gives us a lot of flexibility for our layout. And then working our way from the top down, sitting right here on this top level, we've got our 3 24-volt lithium iron phosphate batteries. These are from bigbattery.com. They've got an integrated BMS, and the BMS is the battery management system. So it manages the temperature. You know, it'll cut the batteries on and off depending on if they're too hot or too cold. Over current protection for the batteries, and also over and under voltage, which is great because it's going to prevent those batteries from being damaged, or, you know, worst case, you know, potentially starting a fire or something. Next to the batteries, we have Alyssa's tankless water heater. This is one designed for an RV. We really like to use vented propane appliances. The distinction between vented and ventless, a ventless propane water heater will just vent the exhaust gas right into your living space. So it's ventless, it's not vented to the outside world. Whereas a vented unit like this one is totally separate. All of the combustion gases go to the outside. And the big advantage there, aside from it being safer, is that all of the condensation that is in the exhaust of the burning propane, because anytime you burn a hydrocarbon, one of the byproducts is water, any of the moisture in the exhaust goes outside the bus. So if she's somewhere very cold, it will minimize the amount of condensation she gets on her windows. Right next to that, we have the water pump, and we try to keep this as accessible as possible because the water pump itself has a strainer on it to catch any particulate that it might suck up from the tank. And really all of this stuff we tried to make as accessible as possible. So we've got it opened up, you know, in like service mode, and all we have to do to get to this point is unmake the bed, take the mattress off, and lift this piece of plywood off the top. So you don't even need tools. And instantly we have total access to all of her core electrical systems and core water systems, the pump, the water heater, and then below this is the tank, which I'll talk about in a second. Moving on from the batteries, which are, you know, at the heart of the electrical system, we've got a complement of all Victron equipment, which is how we typically run. So we've got our Lynx distributor that handles all of our overcurrent protection to the various devices. We've got our smart solar charge controller, our Serbo GX, and lastly the MultiPlus 3000 volt amp inverter. The only non-Victron piece in here is the Sterling, and that's because you know, we want to have the ability to charge off of the alternator, and Victron makes a product called an Orion just for that. However, they only go up to 30 amps, and the Sterling goes up to 70 amps, which is the equivalent of about 900 watts. So when Alyssa's driving, if this is working, she's getting 900 watts from the alternator, which is really great because in a pinch, if she needs to start the bus to charge her batteries, she can do it pretty quick. So all that's back here. Oh, the last thing I didn't mention is we also integrated a small battery charger that keeps her starting batteries topped off, which is really crucial, especially for a 7.3. Alyssa's been able to cold start her bus down as like 10 degrees, 0 degrees? 0 degrees. She's been able to start this bus at 0 degrees, and that is definitely only going to be possible. Well, you need to live a good, clean life and like make a sacrifice to the bus gods, but you also really need to have batteries that are fully charged and ready to go. And anyone who's lived in cold weather can tell you that when these batteries, starting batteries, get cold, their performance declines. And so if you keep them topped up, you're going to get the best performance out of them when things are running. So anyway, this is something I just love showing off. The 100-gallon water tank is what all of this is sitting on top of. We built, you know, a box, a heavy-duty cabinet over all of it, but her 100-gallon water tank is directly below all of this. So all of her big systems are just comprised of this one zone under her bed, and yeah, we were very pleased with how this all came to rest. We used every little inch that we could to make it work. So we'll put this away and we'll keep on going with the tour. All it takes to get this back into living mode, you just drop this cover back down. There. It's a nice snug fit. And then we've got some of this, what's this stuff called? Den? Dry den? Or?
Yeah, I think it is. Dendri.
Dendri?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it sounds like a hair, like dandruff. So, this is a mat. This is something interesting though to show. Here's a good angle on it. It's these tiny like textured bumps that allow airflow to happen, and it prevents the. If you spend enough time online, you'll see people who have. Who get moldy mattresses or mildewy mattresses because our bodies are always, you know, exuding moisture, and a lot of times those people also have, you know, maybe a ventless propane heater in there or something else that's contributing lots of moisture to the air. And yeah, it's really gross, and it's really, really dangerous. It's unhealthy for you. So That stuff seems to work good. No mold yet, huh?
No.
But she's also only been in Colorado where it's beautiful and dry. So.
Well, this is good because some people were asking on my videos why you didn't do slats.
Right, we don't do slats because you should do a mat. Don't do a slat, do a mat. We just need the structural integrity there because we're doing a clear span, so slats aren't really on the table for us.
Cool.
You don't know what to do. Can I move you? Can I slide you? There you go. Freaking dog here. Okay. So, right here is the control zone for all of the systems on the bus. What's handy is that it's easy to get to from this area or from bed. So if you're in bed and you want to know what's going on with your electrical system, your batteries, your diesel heater, you just come over here and you take a look. So what we've got here is our Victron Classic Touch 50. Everybody's doing it. Great. But it's a very easy thing to interpret and understand. You don't have to really have much of an understanding of solar or off-grid energy systems to know what this is telling you. And that's why we like to install them. Really superior to anything else available on the market right now. That might change, but yeah, nobody can really touch it. Here we've got the sea level tank monitor. To show you the fresh level here, the gray level. There is no black tank, and then her propane, which is pretty interesting. So Liz has been using this in the middle of winter, like the coldest days of winter, for 2 months, more than almost 3 months, and she's only down to 72% on her propane, which backs up my idea that her propane tank will last her close to a year, depending on how many pies she makes. And then here is a switch for the water pump, because you want to turn it off. The Chinese diesel heater control is here. Not much to go over on that. These are awkwardly made with confusing interfaces, and you just have to take the time to understand how they work, and then you'll be very happy with them. But if you don't understand things like the fueling table, where you adjust the fuel rate based on your altitude, and if you don't understand the fact that you really should only run them on high or they will soot up, unless you have those two things in your head, you're gonna probably have issues with them, at least from both of our experience. But this thing has been pretty dead on reliable for her. The only issue it had was our fault, because when she first left the shop, we didn't adjust the fuel table, even though I knew that we should have. And it sooted up, and it took some finesse to bring it back online. But I mean, she was running that down into like negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and it didn't quit. She was using anti-gel in the fuel, which is essential, because if your fuel gel's up, you're screwed. But it was having really no trouble maintaining it like 70, 75 degrees in here, like as warm as she wanted to be, which is amazing.
I was running that every day for 2.5 months.
Yeah,
and it
every
has
day.
not sit up at all.
So keep it on high and keep your fuel tables spec'd to where you're at, and you'll be a happy camper. Back here, we have a really nice stained glass, which is obviously the same one as in the bathroom. And then further back here, and I will get farther in the bed, but I'm filthy. We have a little cubby, so there's a dimmer here for that light, and then there is an outlet with USB ports for charging. And this is like, big enough for a glass of water and your phone and whatever else you feel like, which is really nice. Well, hi.
The paw.
Yeah. And I did want to, before we go from here, I did want to say that, so Alyssa's been living in this at altitudes from between 9 and 10,500 feet in temperatures literally as cold as negative 20, like sustained negative 20 for overnight and in days at a time. And the only issues that we've had were the gray water lines freezing because they're outside of the bus. And that didn't even happen until it was like quite cold, like well below freezing.
Yeah, it happened at around 0 degrees.
Yeah, 0 degrees. And we've since installed a gray water tank heater because we didn't know Alyssa was going to be so hardcore. And usually people don't really have an issue. But she was like, no, because her last bus didn't let her get out in the same way that this one does. And it really, in my opinion, highlights like you can do a bus and leave the stock insulation and the stock windows, and you will definitely have one kind of rig, you know, and you can totally have a lot of fun with it. Or you can build one like this, which is more work and more money for sure, and you'll get something that is kind of insane in terms of how well it can provide shelter for you. During the daytime, I mean, so the outdoor temps, you know, were hovering around 0 to 10 degrees, and you said like just the sun on the bus was enough to keep it warm for the most part during the day. And that's because of all of the insulation and the steps we've taken to mitigate, you know, the cold getting into the bus. So replacing the door, doing different windows, and the spray foam insulation. So she's got a bus that outperforms pretty much any camper you can get, for sure, and or pre-made thing, and is just a totally different ballgame compared to a bus conversion that leaves all that stuff. It'll be cool to see in the summer how this holds up. I'm sure it's going to be great too. Yeah, it's just really exciting. Oh, in the solar system, God, how could I forget this? So it was a really interesting opportunity to see, you know, we build these solar systems and we design them to the best of our comprehension and imagination of what she's going to be experiencing. But until you're out there living, it's really hard to get a sense of what's going on. And we noticed the first week that she was gone, I was able to, on my phone, see her energy usage even though I wasn't there, which was really cool. And it looked like she was having a lot, like using way too much electricity than we were expecting. And we found out that the mini split, even though she wasn't using it, when it's really cold, it goes into a mode where it kind of like keeps itself ready to go and uses about 40 watts of energy and makes this like tick, tick sound that sounds like dripping water. So we thought there was a leak and that she had a battery or electrical draw that wasn't making sense until we just turned the breaker off. Because again, the mini split was powered off as far as we could tell. We actually turned the breaker off, and that got rid of a 40 watt draw, which 40 watts doesn't sound like much, but when it's on 24/7, it's actually a lot. It's over a kilowatt hour of energy usage a day, which is significant. That's, you know, she's only got 13 kilowatt hours in her battery bank, and if you're using one a day on nothing, that's stupid. So we troubleshooted that, and we put her IceCo on eco mode, which we had been running it on like maximum mode, and I don't know what's the difference if it's cold. I don't know. We did that, and then it was pretty amazing because she was on a sunny day. She'll use, in a 24-hour period, she'll use about 20% of her battery, and then on a sunny day, she'll make back like around, or no, do I get that backwards? She uses about 10% of her battery, and then on a sunny day, she'll make 20% back. So
that's in the dead of winter.
This is in the dead of, like, literally in January when the nights are the longest. So basically, every day she can, in bad conditions, only bringing in maximum of about 600 watts, even though she's got 12 or 1300 on the roof, only 600 watts. She's able to make back all of her usage plus 10% a day, which is
not really conserving anything.
And that's, she wasn't trying to do anything special. So if she parks somewhere with full batteries, she's got about 4-ish days before her batteries are drained. But if it's sunny out, she can just maintain indefinitely, easily. And that's really cool. That's like right where we want to be. Some people would say this battery bank is too big for the panels on the roof. And I would say it doesn't matter what size battery bank you have, as long as you are making more than you use, it doesn't matter. The batteries just help you average that out. So I fail to understand that logic. Maybe someone can comment on how I'm mistaken there, but I don't think I am. Anyway, so I guess after my long-winded rant about solar stuff, which is always how it seems to go, I think I've realized I've covered everything I wanted to talk about in this build, which it's the last full build that we'll be doing in this shop with this crew of people, and so it's definitely it's very special to me. And being good friends with Alyssa and just knowing how much it means to her, it's it's been a very special project. So I hope that watching this video has given you some ideas for your own build and things that you might be doing in the future. And this is all about sharing things that we think are cool, and I think this turned out really, really well. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.